Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're tackling a pretty big story, really. It's about a device launch that, well, our sources are framing it less as just another product update.
Yeah, much more than that. It sounds like Apple's making a kind of declaration of intent here.
Exactly. We're looking at the supposed 2025 M5 iPad Pro.
Right, and the source material we've reviewed, it really positions this as a line in the sand moment. There's even this direct quote floating around, apparently from the launch event,
Oh, yeah.
where the CEO apparently said something like, "For over a decade, we've asked a question. What is a computer? Today, we stop asking. Today, we are redefining it."
Wow. Okay, that's some serious confidence.
Mhm.
Bold statement.
It really is.
But, the proof is always in the pudding, isn't it? Does the actual device finally live up to that kind of talk?
Well, that's what we're here to figure out, right?
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to break down the 5 key areas we're talking: design, the chip, the OS, display, and the whole ecosystem around it.
Hmm.
These are supposedly the things that, well, blur that line between a tablet and a real pro workstation.
And we're trying to move beyond just like looking at speed tests and benchmarks. It's more about the thinking behind it, the architecture, and what it actually lets you do in the real world.
So the big question we're exploring for you today is pretty straightforward. Is this the one? Is this the iPad that finally delivers on that whole laptop replacement idea people have been talking about, arguing about for years?
Yeah, the promise versus the reality. So let's start where you first encounter it, the physical device itself, the design.
Okay, design.
Hmm.
The sources we looked at, they capture this initial feeling really well. It's less about how it looks, more about what's not there, like an absence.
An absence, yeah. Like you expect a certain weight, a thickness, some heft, especially for a pro device.
Right, and apparently it just
Is
doesn't have it. It feels almost alien.
that absence feeling, it comes down to materials. They're talking about some industrial alchemy going on.
Alchemy, okay.
It sounds fancy.
Huh. Well, it's a shift to a new aerospace-grade titanium alloy for the body. And the key thing is, this stuff lets them make it about, what, 15% lighter than the last one?
Yeah.
But, and this is crucial, it's also more rigid.
Lighter and stronger. That's the engineering dream, isn't it?
Pretty much. Getting that strength while cutting weight. Yeah, that's tough to do in mobile devices.
And there's this comparison that really makes it click, makes it tangible.
What's that?
Holding the M5 iPad Pro. It's not like holding a normal tablet or laptop. The reviewer said it feels like holding a stack of just 5 credit cards.
5 credit cards? Seriously?
I'll show the quote, which is just wild when you think about what's supposedly packed inside. It messes with your head a bit.
It totally does. It challenges that subconscious idea of what a powerful pro machine should feel like in your hands. And looking beyond just the metal shell. We got to talk ports. The arteries of power, as one source put it. Yes, connectivity. Thunderbolt.
Still there.
Still there, and apparently evolved. We're talking Thunderbolt 5 now. The jump in bandwidth is supposedly staggering.
How staggering. Like, give us the metric that a power user, someone really pushing this thing, would care about.
Okay, the big one is external screens. It can supposedly drive 2 Apple Pro Display XDRs at the same time at full 6K resolution.
2 6K displays from that thin device.
Exactly. Think about the sheer amount of data pouring out for that kind of setup. High-res, high frame rates.
Okay.
It's serious workstation-level I.O., something you didn't get on a mobile chip device before.
Yeah.
Not like this.
Okay, that is impressive. But then there's the other port, right? The mystery one.
Yeah, the Pro accessory port. It's that wider magnetic connector. It looks reinforced. Apple's being a bit cagey about it, just calling it that.
Which is interesting because Apple isn't always, super open with accessories. This feels different. It does. And if you're trying to read the tea leaves, connect the dots. This port seems like the biggest hint that Apple is really serious about those pro users. The speculation, and it's widespread, is that this is for an external GPU.
An eGPU for an iPad. Finally, that would be huge. Offering proper, maybe even upgradable desktop-level graphics power.
Or maybe, a different kind of dock, one that turns the iPad into more of a desktop brain, adding dedicated storage, Ethernet, maybe older ports people still need.
Either way, that single port kind of signals a bigger ecosystem play, doesn't it? A future where the iPad Pro can scale beyond just what's inside the chassis if they actually follow through. Yeah, big shift.
Definitely one to watch. Okay, so moving from the outside in, let's get to the heart of it. The M5 chip, the device's soul, really.
And the story here isn't just it's faster, right? It's more about how it's faster.
Exactly. It's the architectural philosophy. Yeah, the main performance cores are faster, obviously, better than the M4, M3, predictable upgrades there. But the real cleverness, the sources suggest, is in the efficiency cores. They've apparently gotten a major boost.
How so? What are they doing differently?
They're supposedly smart enough and powerful enough now to handle almost all the background stuff entirely on their own. We're talking system updates, caching files, even like light app usage, browsing the web, checking email.
So the big power-hungry cores can just stay asleep more often.
Pretty much. And when these little efficiency cores are doing that everyday work, they use barely any power. One source had this great analogy, like a hummingbird sipping nectar.
Huh? I like that. And that's how they're claiming that all-day battery life later on, even with all this potential power under the hood.
That's the idea. Efficiency is key, but the component that really screams redefining the computer, the one Apple's apparently pushing hard in their marketing, is the neural engine, version 2.0.
Right, the AI brain, they're calling it.
Yep. And the headline number is a leap to over 50 TOPS. That's trillion operations per second.
Okay, 50 TOPS. Why is that number such a big deal? What does that actually unlock for someone using the device?
Well, it unlocks a level of on-device intelligence and anticipation that just wasn't possible before. At 50 TOPS, the AI brain isn't just reacting, it's predicting, learning your habits, assisting within apps in real time without needing the cloud or bogging down the main CPU cores. It's all about immediacy.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Give us some real-world examples for, say, creative pros. A 3D artist using Blender. What changes?
So the report suggests they can render complex scenes, and the viewport updates practically instantly. You see cinematic lighting, complex shadows, textures, all in real time as you work. No more hitting render preview and waiting seconds or minutes.
Wow, okay. That eliminates that whole stop-start workflow, continuous creation.
Exactly. Or think about video editors. They're talking about scrubbing through timelines with multiple streams of 8K ProRes video.
8K, multiple streams.
Yeah. Applying color grades, effects. And the timeline just keeps up. No dropped frames, no stuttering beach balls. It just handles it.
That kind of seamless juggling of really heavy tasks, that sounds like the core M5 experience they're aiming for. It's less like you're operating a computer and more like it's just an extension of your idea.
Effortlessness, that's the word that kept coming up in the reviews. It just gets out of the way.
And a brain that powerful needs, well, equally good eyes, right?
Yeah.
Does that effortlessness carry over to the display?
Absolutely. The Tandem OLED is still apparently amazing, those perfect black, super bright HDR highlights. But the real progress is in the tech that makes the display feel invisible almost.
Promotion 2.0, is that the one?
That's it. The dynamic refresh rate, it now scales, like way more aggressively, down to just 1 hertz, 1 refresh per second when you're just looking at static text or an image, saving tons of power.
Okay, 1 hertz is low.
Super low. But then it can ramp all the way up to 240 hertz for things like super smooth scrolling, gaming, or drawing.
240 hertz on an iPad. That's faster than most gaming monitors.
It is. And that huge range, that's thanks to the LTPO backplane technology. It makes everything feel instantaneous.
Yeah.
Especially with the pencil, the latency, the delay between moving the pencil and the line appearing, functionally zero now. It feels like ink blooming directly from the tip.
Nice. And what about using it outside? Glare has always been a bit of an issue.
Ah, good point. Big news there. That nano-texture glass finish. The one that cuts down glare and reflections massively. It used to be an expensive add-on.
Yeah, I remember that. Controversial.
Well, now it's standard on all the Pro models, which is a huge nod to professionals who actually, leave the studio. Photographers on location, architects on site. They get a clear, glare-free view pretty much anywhere.
It's a smart move. Makes it much more practical. And that LTPO tech, does it enable anything else?
It does. The always-on display. Finally on the iPad Pro.
Okay, like the iPhone and watch. What does it show?
You can customize it, apparently. A little dashboard with your calendar, battery status, maybe widgets, or even a super low-power preview of whatever you were working on, like your drawing canvas. And it does this with almost no hit to battery life. It just there, ready.
Persistent intelligence. Okay, this hardware sounds incredible.
Yeah.
But the age-old iPad Pro problem, the software. Has iPadOS finally caught up?
That's been the bottleneck forever, hasn't it? But yeah, the sources are calling iPadOS 19 the Pro update, the great unlocking. It seems like this is the version designed specifically for this M5 hardware.
So what's the headline? What's the big unlock?
The big three, finally. Full, native, no-compromise versions of Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, and Xcode.
Whoa, not just iPad versions, but like the real deal.
That's the claim. Not watered-down ports. Apps rebuilt to use the M5's power, the unified memory, the touch interface, everything. This is massive for video editors, musicians, developers.
Okay, that is a game changer. But having the apps is one thing. Can you actually use them effectively? What about managing Windows? That's always been clunky.
Agreed. And that seems to be the other crucial software shift. They've apparently ditched the old rigid split view and slide over. We finally have proper advanced window management.
Meaning, like on a Mac or PC.
Pretty much free-floating windows. You can resize them properly, overlap them, stack them. It behaves like a desktop OS in that respect. This tackles that cognitive friction, that complexity that made serious multitasking on iPad kind of a pain.
Okay, that sounds like it could genuinely make it a viable main machine for complex workflows.
And this new flexible environment is where that M5 neural engine, the Apple Intelligence stuff, really starts to shine. The AI isn't just a feature, it's woven into the workflow.
How so? Give me an example in, say, Final Cut.
Okay, picture this. You're editing an interview, but there's a ton of background noise, traffic, air conditioning, whatever. With one tap, the AI can apparently isolate the speaker's voice and just remove the noise instantly, doing the complex audio work for you.
Seriously, that's impressive.
Or using Siri for tasks that sound like science fiction. One source described telling the iPad, find all the videos from that concert last month where the stage lights were blue and make a highlight reel set to this specific song.
Yeah,
And it just does it. The AI brain understands the context, blue stage lights, finds the clips, edits them together autonomously, using that 50 TOPF power for complex, real-world tasks.
That's wow. Okay. Moving on slightly. A system like this isn't just the tablet itself, right? The accessories have to be part of the vision.
Absolutely. And Apple seems to have rethought them not as extras, but as like essential components of this mobile workstation idea. The new Magic Keyboard is Exhibit A.
How's it different?
Well, first off, it's got an aluminum base now. Feels less like a floppy cover and more like the bottom half of a really premium, really thin laptop, much more solid.
Okay, better feel. What about the trackpad?
Bigger. Significantly bigger. And it finally gets haptic feedback. So instead of a physical click, you get that precise vibration, that tap sensation like on the MacBooks.
Oh, nice. Yeah, people love that haptic feedback. And the big one. Please tell me.
Yes, finally. The function row is here.
Yes, took one long enough.
Right. Full row of keys above the numbers, media controls, brightness, volume, and, very appropriately, a dedicated Siri button to trigger all those new AI features easily.
Okay, that keyboard sounds like a massive upgrade. What about the pencil?
Apple Pencil, 3rd generation, and it's leaning hard into the professional instrument angle. The coolest new thing is the interchangeable tips.
Interchangeable, like different kinds.
Exactly. Sources mention a standard fine point, but also a softer, maybe brush-like tip for digital painting, and a harder, more rigid tip, maybe for technical drawing or drafting. So artists can pick the tip that feels right for the job.
That's really clever, tailoring the tool to the task.
And my favorite little touch is this haptic tap feature.
Haptic tap. What's that?
It gives you subtle vibrations as you work. Like you might feel a tiny tap when you switch tools in your drawing app, or maybe when your digital brush hits the edge of the canvas. It's about adding that little bit of physical feedback to the digital process, makes it feel more connected.
Interesting. Little details that add up. And please tell me they added Find My Support. Losing a $130 pencil is painful.
Yes. Peace of mind at last. The 3rd gen pencil apparently has Find My integration, so you can track it down when it inevitably vanishes into the sofa.
Thank goodness for that. Okay, so we have this insane M5 chip, bright display, advanced OS, better accessories. What about battery life? All this power must drain it fast, right?
You'd think so. But this is where those super efficient efficiency cores come back into play. Despite the peak performance potential, the claim is still a solid all-day 10-hour battery life for typical mixed usage.
10 hours with all that.
That's the target. It's that clever architecture, sipping power for normal tasks that makes it possible. It kind of defies the usual trade-off between power and endurance.
And connectivity on the go, keeping it untethered.
Fully modernized there, too. It's got 5G advanced, so potentially multi-gigabit speeds when you're out and about, and Wi-Fi 7 for the fastest possible wireless speeds in the office or studio. Basically fast connections wherever you are. So let's bring it all together. Who is this incredibly powerful, incredibly thin, incredibly expensive device actually for?
Yeah, who's on the yes list?
Well, based on everything we've covered, it's squarely aimed at the power user, the high-end creative professional. We're talking digital illustrators, photographers, serious video editors, music producers, architects, engineers. People who need genuine workstation power, but also value mobility.
So the person whose entire studio could now theoretically fit in their bag. The editor cutting a film from, I don't know, a mountaintop. The musician composing on a plane.
Exactly. Those kinds of demanding users who push the boundaries of where work can happen, it's definitely not for the casual user just browsing the web or the student needing something basic and affordable. This is a pro tool with a pro price tag to match, presumably.
It sounds like it doesn't just aim to replace a laptop for everyone, but confirms that promise for a specific, high-end group, enabling workflows that weren't really feasible before on a tablet.
I think that's a fair summary. The final takeaway from the sources we read is pretty consistent. This M5 iPad Pro isn't just an iteration, it's presented as a shift in how Apple views computing. The question they want you to ask isn't, can it replace my computer anymore?
Right. The question becomes, why would I want to use anything else? If it delivers on all this, it sounds like it could be the most versatile, powerful, and adaptable computer they've ever made. It's redefining things not by copying the past, but by pointing towards a different future of computing.
And the final thought, the challenge posed by the source material is quite direct. The device is here, the tools are ready, the only question left is, what will you create with it?
That really is a powerful thought to end on. Before you head off, definitely check out the fantastic website, www.learnxyz.in. They've got loads more deep dives like this, tech, software development, all sorts of interesting topics. Really worth a visit.
Yeah, great stuff over there. And hey, if you found this breakdown useful today, if you enjoyed this deep dive, maybe take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It genuinely helps us keep making these analyses for you.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.